Today we're gonna build twin PCs. We're gonna build a white one, we're gonna build a black one. And it's pretty much the same setup on each one as far as the components are concerned. All right, I'll be right back. Today's build is a little bit on the special side in that I got approached by Okinos, who asked me to try out their extensions. You know, I think it's important that I stay true to myself and true to you guys and give an honest feedback as to the quality of whatever components somebody wants to try. And so they sent me these, and so we're going to try these out and see how they work. They seem to be pretty decent quality relative to other cable extensions I've used in the past. They've got a good weight to them, individually sleeved and everything. They seem to be like 18 gauge wire. My preference is 16 gauge, especially if I'm working with higher end components. But 18 gauge for these builds should be more than fine. And so we'll put these in today with the rest of the components and see how it goes. It does come with Wi-Fi, the B450M. One thing I don't like about the Klevv drives is it doesn't come with a screw. So it's not too bad, but you know, it would be nice. Most other drives do. That's interesting. The white one came with 4 of these, whereas the black one came with 2 of these. These are to hold the fans on to the cooler itself. So that's interesting. Although I only need 2, it's always nice to have an extra set in case I like jack up one of these. Never remember initially which way it goes. I always have to relook at how the cooler sits. Okay, we're pretty much done with the motherboards. They're ready to go. So let's move on. Not a fan of wire ties. I know some people use them to cable manage with. I prefer zip ties or Velcro straps like that. So I always take these off because I've got like a crap ton of zip ties. Seems to be a lot of good tie points for zip ties. So we'll see when we get to the cable management side of things. The screw is sitting loose. I'm going to take this one out in case it's cross-threaded somehow. Maybe it's just sitting off kilter somehow. Might be the standoff. Try one more. Yeah, it might be the standoff. All right, so we gotta start over now. Yeah, that standoff is somehow too big of a hole, or it's stripped out. And that's why you hold on to the extra stuff. Yeah. That feels good. Doesn't feel loose at all. Well, that one feels like it's stripped out too. So there's two of them. That is a little frustrating. Third time's a charm. All right, that was a bit of a pain in the ass, but we got through it. Not sure what this little tray is for. It's kind of weird. We're also going to remove this tray right here that can hold some 2.5-inch SSDs, but we're not using any 2.5-inch SSDs. And this gives us a little bit more room on cable management. And we're also going to do the same thing with this hard drive caddy. Give us a little more space down at the bottom for the cables that we're going to be using. All right, let's do the black one. The top filter came with like some dents in it. We'll see if we could straighten that out, but I don't like that. Well, let's, since we ran into a problem with some of the standoffs with the white one, let's double check with the black one before we put in the motherboard. It'd been nice if this case came with some extra standoffs though. All right, these standoffs are good. Alright, so let's do the GPUs and then we'll do the cables. Alright. 6 and 2, 4 and 4. So one EPS cable where there should be two. Okinos, you need two of these. You need two EPS cables. Two PCIe is fine. It'd be nice if there was a 12-volt high power one as well, but you need. Some motherboards will take two EPS cables, and so it'd be nice to have an extra one. In this case, we don't have to worry about it because these are lower end motherboards with lower power tiers, and so a single one will work fine. But yeah, food for thought on that. One other thing about for Okinos, as far as feedback goes, these are slightly, they're more gray than white. It would be nice if this were like closer to the plastic that you're using on the connectors as far as the coloring goes. As you can see, I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up properly, but yeah, it's more of a gray-white, kind of like a very, very light gray kind of color, which is fine, I guess, to a certain degree, but if you're gonna go all white, then, you know, make it white. Don't make it gray. See, you see how it's kind of hanging like that compared to like that. So it looks like that there's one long one or something, slightly longer than the others, and it's just kind of malforming it. Luckily, it's a EPS cable, so probably only this much at most is going to show through. Definitely, so here's the EPS on the black one and the EPS on the white one. Definitely looks like this one cable right here is longer than the others. That's why it's bending the way it is. See how much play it's got? All right, and so let's do the black case next, and then we're ready for the power supply. Even in a crowd, not too bad. In ultra settings. I'm going the wrong way. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm not seeing no gangs. Ooh, sorry. Might have cleared out this area or something. About some gangs. I guess I could shoot a cop. Hide out here for a little bit. And not wanted anymore after killing 4 or 5 cops. Because, you know, the game's a little stupid. Hey, here's a cop. Everything's on very high. Alright, average 50 FPS. So like we got into the low 80s on CPU temp. Didn't really exceed like 55 to 57 C on the GPU. So not bad. Let's do 1080p high. All right, pretty decent readings at 1080p high. CPU of this age and strength, it's not a bad score at 8557. It's not a fantastic score, but you know, it's within the expected result. All right, so pretty decent performing builds, mostly due to the 4060, but you know, the 5500, like I've said before, is a pretty decent performer for gaming PCs. So yeah, overall, the cases were pretty good to work in. They weren't all that tough, especially after removing the hard drive caddies and things like that. There doesn't seem to be an RGB controller with these cases, although there is a switch at the top that implies that there is. But I didn't see any connectors or anything for that. So it might be just a disabled thing where you could potentially get the proper cable for it to have it work for you along with the hub. There's also a filter at the bottom right here. Intake fan right there would be fine, although it doesn't really have a lot to intake from, so I don't really see a good point as to installing a intake fan there. The Okinos cable extensions worked out well. They look good and they're easy to work with. The only downside that I felt was that it could have come with an extra EPS cable, and on the white one, and I think this is an outlier more than anything, but the white EPS cable had one of the cables seemed to be longer than the other, as you probably saw earlier as I was doing the build, and that was a little bit disappointing, but it doesn't show up in here, and so it's not a make or break thing. But I would suggest a little more quality control as far as the length of the cables to make sure that they're all the same before putting on the connectors, and an extra EPS cable would be nice to see, because some motherboards do come with 2 EPS connectors. Yeah, and that's about it. Oh, and one last thing, the cable combs, although it doesn't, you can't really tell in the case once it's put in, but as you're doing the cable combs on the white ones, those combs are a little bit grayish instead of white, and so that kind of is a little off-putting when you're putting it together. Although you don't really notice it once the RGB lights are on in the case, so I don't think that that's a make or break thing either. All right, so if you got any questions for me, feel free to write down in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are, what your questions are. Be more than happy to respond to you guys. If you like this video and some of the learning parts of the video that I put in, feel free to let me know down in the comments and hit that like and subscribe. That tells me more than anything, and it helps out the channel a ton. All right, in the meantime, thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.